G'day, doggies fans, all things Bulldogs. It's the Origin Bound Bulldogs series, episode 2, and it coincides with a report coming out today that Jacob Kiraz would be much higher up the pecking order to get a job in the New South Wales Blues side. And we talked about this a lot last year, that Jacob Kiraz was in the top 3 best wingers in the game, and statistically, under the rugby league eye test, had actually outperformed Lomax, Zac Lomax in most of the areas. Not begrudging the job Zac Lomax did. He was phenomenal in Origin on the wing, and the fact that he's a goal kicker as well really puts him in good stead. But he is no longer in the running for Origin 1, having succumbed to an injury. So Jacob Kiraz. So what we're going to do is go through some of the players that Jacob will be competing against in order to get a position in the New South Wales side. And I believe he's a big show, but there are lots of different options. Even an option from within our own team is that Stephen Crichton could find himself having to play on the wing as well in order to be in that team, which I'm pretty sure Laurie Daly will want to have Stephen Crichton in that side. But there's a couple of other players that might be available that take those centre positions. So I'll talk about all the ones that he's coming up against and give you my opinions as to why Jacob Kiraz, and I'm sure many people already would think I'm preaching to the choir here, but we'll show statistically why he's a good fit to go along with what we see and the passion that he, has flying out of him that we love. So that's Jacob Kiraz. Let's look at his own statistics. So I'm going to enlarge those a little bit so you can see them better. And then what we'll do is go through those statistics of Jacob Kiraz. So obviously he's 187 centimetres, weighing about 92 kilos. He's only young, 23 years old, and turning 24 in April this year. So his birthday is coming shortly. Debuted in one of the best debuts you'll ever see after COVID hit the club. We lost about 7 or 8 players, and Jacob made his debut. He's a St John's Eagles junior, which produces a heap of talent for the Bulldogs, local Bulldogs area. So Bulldog number 830, and he's had 60 appearances, scoring 24 tries. Made his debut for 2025, returning from injury against the Knights. Had 1 try assist, had 3 tackle breaks. He only had to make 6 tackles, no misses. He ran for 178 metres and did a phenomenal job in the match. He also had 5 offloads, which was phenomenal and something that really helps our team and helps take a little bit of the punch out of the opposition. He did a phenomenal job, 3 tackle breaks as well. And he from his first hit up in that game, he proved why he had to come straight back into the side, even though Blake Wilson had done a phenomenal job. So looking at his overall career, he's had 60 games with a record of 26 wins and 34 losses, which is climbing at a rapid rate. 24 tries. He's forced 2 line dropouts as well with little kicks in behind. He's made 32 line breaks, 6 try assists. Played mainly on the wing, but also played some centre as well. And if one of our centres go down, I have no doubt that Jacob will be the one that goes into that role, which shows his versatility. Tackling at 85% efficiency, which is normal for a team that's been under sufferance and the edges of that first 2023 season. Obviously struggled a little bit because our whole team was struggling at times. Averaging 165 metres per game over his career, which is phenomenal, and has just been one of our best players for a very, very long time. I can show you a lot of highlights, but it will mean that my video would then be banned for copyright. as the NRL does. So what I'm going to go through is some of the people that he's competing against, but before I do that, it's really good that we actually look at the 2024 season, because he was a beast in 2024. 14 wins, 11 losses, playing 25 matches, and sort of dealing with injuries for majority of the year, scoring 12 tries. He made 186 tackles last year at 84.55% efficiency. He averaged 189 meters in 2024. Really, really strong stats. They don't have his offloads shown there, which is quite annoying. But 18 line breaks last year as well. So, good finisher, and he helped set up some phenomenal tries as well. There's some really great highlights for Jacob last year. He had a crazy year, and one of the best players in our side week in, week out. So what we're going to do now is have a look at some of the players that he'll be competing against. And we'll have a look at Zac Lomax, even though he's going to be out with injury. It's important you see the comparison, at least from a statistical point of view. So here's Zac here, and he's a little bit taller than Jacob at 190 centimeters, weighs a few kilos more, which puts him in good stead, and he's a couple of years older than Jacob as well. 119 appearances for 49 tries. This season, 5 appearances, tackling about 85%. He's played a lot of his games on the wing, so that's sort of normal. Averaging 192 meters, taking a lot of runs, kicking the goals, that sort of stuff. But let's look at his 2023 season. He played 21 matches for 8 wins and 13 losses. Scored 14 tries. He was definitely one of the major targets, and scored a lot more tries when he went to the wing last year. Kicked 63 goals, 2 2-point field goals as well, which is something which is, gives him a little bit extra and more importance. 5 try assists, 14 line breaks. Okay. 5 try assists, 14 line breaks. So when you look at what Jacob Kiraz had, Kiraz is sort of going a little bit better. His tackle efficiency last year, only 81%. And he averaged 171 meters, whereas Kiraz averaged 189. Scored more points, more fantasy points as well, and he got a couple more tries. But, when you're the focal point of the attack, which he's always been at the Dragons, especially with Ben Hunt's kicks, you're going to score more tries. So, given a lot of opportunities, statistically, he would have done a fair few offloads as well, because he is good at that. And in his career, he's had, 42 wins, 72 losses. So, definitely someone that played really well in Origin last year, and would probably be ahead of Jacob again, purely on the fact that he was part of a successful team that won. So let's have a look at the next player, and it's Brian To'o, one of the best players in the game, and definitely in the top 3, or you have him in the top 2 wingers in the game, and then it's between Lomax and Kiraz, in my opinion. And I think Turuva is a really good winger as well. And then you got the Fox and different strengths. But look, To'o only have little pocket rocket, 182 centimeters, just under 6 foot, 97 kilos. He doesn't weigh much. And what he gets through. So in 120 matches, he's had 83 tries, obviously on the end. of some, a really successful team. But the thing is, the amount of work he contributes is what makes him the best. He's already had 17 tackle breaks and 2 line breaks from just 3 matches for the Panthers this year, tackling about 83%, averaging 184 metres. And if we look at his year-on-year statistics, he's averaging really good win percentage. He's won 95 matches from 120 games, only losing 25 for 1 draw at 78%, which is phenomenal. And he's been, doesn't get too many try assists, but makes quite a few line breaks, obviously being a finisher. Sort of been tackling between the 80 and 90% range. And in a career, he's averaged 198 metres per game over 7 seasons. Last year averaged 196, so his peak was at 239. Going back a few years, so his meterage is slowly descending after peaking, and that just comes down to the amount of work he does, more closeness of the competition, whatever it is. And it always contributes a hell of a lot in the fantasy points. So not the tallest guy. He's not the best under the high ball. That's one of the, like, he catches the footy really well, but can be out jumped because of his height. But still, a lot of clubs don't take advantage of it. So that's Brian To'o. I rate him as the best winger in the game, but that mantle will be handed over at some point. And now we have Josh Addo-Carr, the Fox. One of the most electric wingers in the game. 6 foot high, weighs 90 kilos. He's increased his weight in the last couple of years. 182 appearances for 142 tries. One of the best finishers in the game. And this year averaged 114 metres. Let's have a look at his overall career stats. So we'll look at the Storm and then the Bulldogs for the main part. So he won 93 games at the Storm with only 25 losses at a 79% win rate. Won 20 games out of 52 at the Dogs, which wasn't too bad. And the Eels look like a better side with him there. I will say it. Line breaks, 104 for the Storm. 48 for the Dogs, which was huge. And I'd almost say he had a higher percentage of line breaks at the Bulldogs. Tackle percentage, obviously down to 80% at the Dogs. It was much tougher, and he got there in 2022. So pretty tough for him. Runner meters, 118 at Wests in a handful of games, 131 at the Storm. Not too far off at the Dogs, which is a pretty good effort considering the type of player he is and the amount of games we struggled in. But the Fox, he's averaging 114 in his 3 games with the Eels in a team that is struggling. I don't think the Fox plays Origin in 2025. But it's good to see how our wingers compare. And on the eye test, Kiraz is in front of the Fox. So the next player is surprisingly Stephen Crichton. Now, the reason I've got Stephen Crichton up there as a potential winger is because if Tommy Turbo, who's expected to be ready by Origin, and Latrell Mitchell are fit, I'm pretty sure they're going to be the centres picked by Laurie Daly. So I think Critter goes out onto one wing and Tupou likely to be on the other wing. So Kiraz will have to beat one of those two guys to the punch, essentially. And that's what I think is going to happen. But hopefully Kiraz gets an opportunity at it. So let's have a look at Critter's credentials. Obviously 193 centimetres, really good under the high ball as well. 99 kilos, 126 games for 67 tries. He can kick goals as well, which is a help. Kicking at 73% this year. He's had 6 tackle breaks from just the 1 line break. Tackling at 93%. Only averaging 89 metres. Hasn't done as much work. Carrying a few injuries. But if we go through his career summary, he sort of come in as a winger. And his win percentage really high. So 57% for the Dogs last year, 100% this year. 79% in 23, 91% in 22. Just a winner every single year. Obviously was scoring more tries when on the wing. So started out on the wing, 17 tries. Then into the centres he went. And still had some good contribution from that. Try assists, obviously 7, 8, 8, 15 and 8. Always been tackling around the 85% mark, and that comes down to the position they're in and the pressure they put on and the way they go about their business. Running meters went 123 in his, I think, in a handful of games. 114. So the other winger was doing the majority of the work, which is Brian Toto. Then 143, 134, 125. So it's gradually been coming down, the amount of meters. But that can be circumstantial as well. I just think it's the way that they utilise him and part of a system thing where you have one that gets to the work and they tend to kick to one side of the field a lot of the time. And then you have the centre that's kept for the Hollywood moments. And he's definitely one of those. But I think they will play him on the wing. So since coming to the Dogs, he's got a 65% win rate. He had an 84% win rate at the Panthers. 45 line breaks from 100 games. So making a line break nearly every second game. At the Dogs, he's making it at a similar rate, 10 from 26. Tackling about the same. Average meters at the Panthers, 130 per game. At the Dogs, it's only 109. So, but still, although Kiraz statistically has always performed better from a statistic point of view as far as meters, offloads, all that sort of stuff than what Critter did when he was a winger. I think in the Origin arena, Critter would probably get picked ahead of Kiraz on the wing. And then we go, where's there, if Mitchell Moses is fit, Burton's probably not going to fit in again, so he'll be on the bench or 18th man. But Laurie, see what Laurie comes up with. So the last guy, I'll probably do, this will be the second last guy. So we've got Sania Turuva. An interesting candidate. I think with the ball, he rates with everyone. 57 appearances, 36 tries. He's averaging 142 metres. So he does the work. He was a good foil for Brian Toto. Makes good post contact. Gets down low, gets things going. Really strong winning percentage as a player. 39 line breaks from 52 matches at the Panthers. Tackle efficiency is really low, which is something he's got to work on. But you want to see it above the 80% mark when as a winger. but definitely someone that I think could do the job at Origin level, and someone that Kiraz has got to compete with. But I put Kiraz ahead of Turuva in the pecking order at the moment. And I think I'd be right in saying that. So we'll look at our last person. And the last player we're going to look at is Daniel Tupou, who is, well liked, especially amongst New South Wales selectors. Big fella, 196 centimetres, 105 kilos, slowing down at the age of 33. I don't think he's a chance, and, but he's definitely someone who's statistically been one of the better players. 270 matches for 166 tries, averaging 161 metres. Now, over his career, 169 wins for 101 losses. 81% tackle efficiency, 188 line breaks in those 270 games. Average running meters of 148 over his career. And if we look at recent seasons, what has he been producing? Started off in the low hundreds, peaked at 170, 180, dropped to 156, then at 182, 168, 161. So there you go. Definitely a good player. Can get an offload. He's good for the high ball, and a really powerful finisher as well. So he's been a benchmarked winger for many, many years, and someone that if we had a lot of injuries that they could pick to do the job. But I definitely have Jacob Kiraz way ahead of Daniel Tupou, and I'm sure the majority of people watching this would as well. But just good to compare with someone who's been doing it for a very, very long time. 260 games, that's a hell of a lot at the highest level, and he's sort of maintained that mojo for quite a while. So well done to him. Kiraz, like pour me some Shiraz Kiraz. I think this is the year. I think if he can maintain, form leading up to Origin, and he should improve, to be honest. He's only had one game back, and not get injuries or any reoccurrence of injuries. The Dogs continue on their way. Jacob Kiraz could force himself into that Origin side. Really good player. He's not going to let anyone down. He's great out of his own half. He can get second phase going. Good under the high ball. Good completer of the ball. And he's just getting more and more experienced, and someone we can trust and rely on from the day one. Now, had a couple of games last year against Canberra. He dropped his lollies early, cost us some points. Happened in another game as well. But the amount of times he's scored tries he had no right to score, he's just got Origin written all over him. He's a moments player, and someone that not only the Bulldogs can trust, but New South Wales can trust to get out there and do the job for us. And I have every bit of faith that he can do it. I'd have no issue with having Kiraz, Preston and Burton and Crichton in our New South Wales side. None at all. And you could throw in Josh Curran on the bench. You could throw in a player like Max King. You put our whole team in at the moment, and I'd have a case for it. But look, the likelihood is that we'll be lucky to get one player. But that's fine. Throughout some of our most successful periods, Bulldogs players have been overlooked. They've always found, no matter how we're going, they've always found one better. And I strongly believe that Jacob Kiraz is fully deserving to be selected for New South Wales. And I strongly believe that given the opportunity, he will do the state proud and be someone that they'll find very difficult to ever leave out of the team, because he's a big game player, and big game players should be playing State of Origin. So, look, I'm going to back him in, Kiraz for Origin, and hopefully, we get to see him, you know, get to that level and do the same things or more for New South Wales as what he's done for the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. So that's my thoughts on it. You know, and I'm just going to leave the rest of this little video with a little song that I found about Jacob Kiraz. So here it is. Enjoy.
Jacob fights, he never bites. Bulldog heart burning inside. Day and night he gives his all. Stands so strong he won't fall. Sweat and blood, he's got no fear. Jacob Kiraz loud and clear. Champion works till he's sore. Cracks the ground, hear the roar. Pour me some cheers, King Kiraz. Give me some Kiraz, Shiraz. A real bulldog, strong and bold. Pour me some Shiraz, King Kiraz. Pour me some Shiraz, King Kiraz. Pour me some Shiraz, King Kiraz. Pour me some Shiraz, King Kiraz.